Well, hello.
Hi.
We didn't see you there for a moment.
But we're here to talk about the worksheet you did for homework last night. You had to do questions 1 through 5 for the Mommy Works comparison poetry worksheet.
Let's start with question 1, day work. Why does the grandmother work and how does she feel about what she does? Use a line from the text to support what you say here. What did you guys come up with?
Alrighty. Well, the line that strikes me comes at the end of the first long stanza. Okay, well, there's two, and they're both in italics. If you see something in italics and the rest of the poem is not in italics, that might mean to pay more attention to it. But here it's because it's the mother who is talking, whereas the rest of the poem is written from the perspective of the child. But since the question says, why does the grandmother work? Well, she tells us that kind of twice in the first stanza when she says, I'm not ashamed. Cleaning is what I know. I'm not ashamed if it feeds my children. She puts that if it feeds my children on a separate line even. The poet didn't have to do that, but it's on a separate line. So I would say that's kind of a critical line.
So you're saying that one of the reasons that she works is simply to feed her children, right?
Yeah.
But I also see that it says that she's got 4 more mouths to feed and the money she gets from part-time teaching isn't enough anymore. So I think that she's definitely working 2 jobs here. She has her day work job where it looks like she's cleaning, but she is also a teacher and somehow she's not making enough money. But either way, she's doing it to feed her children. But it looks like she's got 2 jobs here.
Very cool.
But Ms. Hunt, it asks how she feels about what she does.
Yeah.
What did you come up with for that?
I think that she feels a sense of pride for the work that she does, even though, typically in society we don't tend to praise people who do manual labor kinds of jobs. She is totally okay with doing that kind of work because it does support her family. So I think she has a sense of pride about it.
I agree. I think she has a sense of pride too. And if I had to pick a line from the text to support that, I would pick the same one Mr. Seneca mentioned before, that I'm not ashamed if it feeds my children. So for this question, we answered why she works, how she feels about it, and we had support from the text.
Cool. Alrighty, let's go. We're going to jump to question 3. This is this next poem, Woman Work by Maya Angelou, which, can they listen to that as well?
Yeah, so if you click on that on your worksheet, there's a link at the top for each of the titles. When you click on it, you can hear her read that, but you'll have to scroll over to 2 minutes and 35 seconds because she reads 2 poems in that video.
Okay. So the question is, has that fancy word in it, how does the juxtaposition of nature to the hard work the woman does affect you as the reader? Explain how and why in detail.
So what's juxtaposition?
That's a great question. So to juxtapose something is when you take one thing and you set it off against something else. You are putting one, perhaps an image or an idea, or even a theme, or I guess even frequently it's an image or a scene, or even just a word or phrase, and then you set it against something that is rather different. So if it were a painting, you would have maybe a part of the painting that's blue, and then there would be another part of the painting that's like bright yellow.
Oh, I get it. So this kind of relates to the question before it where they asked where the shift was. And the shift meant a change. And so we had the first section where she's working really hard, all of those things she had to do. And then this next part is like shine on me, sunshine, rain on me, rain. It has all this nature imagery. So is that what's being juxtaposed, the work and the nature?
I think so, because she has this big long list of all the things that she has to do that day, and they're all in quick succession. But then when she starts talking about nature, I'm getting the sense now that she's being like nurtured by nature, if that makes sense. Like Mother Nature is
so she
taking
feels
care
some
of her.
relief. Maybe relief from all that hard work she just
Definitely, right. And especially because she says, fall softly, dewdrops, cool my brow again.
Oh, wow. So those two images next to each other are outstanding. So the question is asking how it affects us. So how does it make us feel? What mood does that create when we see these two things next to each other?
I mean, for me, it's a bit bittersweet because, she's trying. This character is trying to find a moment to herself in the midst of, a life where she is working nonstop for other people, and ironically, the moment that she finds to herself is when she's out in a cotton field picking cotton. So there's something beautiful about the imagery here, but there's also, pretty bittersweet because of, she's even still working out there, even as that second part is going on.
I definitely see that. Does it make you feel differently, or do you feel about the same? You have like a bittersweet feeling?
Yeah, I get that sense, but I also think that, she still has like that sense of encouragement from Mother Nature.
Right.
And she says things like, "You're all that I can call my own." Like, she recognizes that maybe she doesn't have too much, but she can still look up at nature, and she feels that sense of encouragement that she can keep doing this work that she's toiling with all the time.
Right. So the juxtaposition of those two things for me kind of made me feel almost lighthearted, because I felt heavy at the beginning, but then when I realized that she has nature and it's hers, and that's always there, and there's either sunshine or there's rain or there's a storm or there's snowflakes, all of those things are always happening. So it's like she always has something like in her back pocket to make her feel good. So I think that there's several different moods, and poems can make different people feel different ways. And so I think that I have this sort of lighthearted feeling when I get to that part, but I do still see the explanation of bittersweet as well.
Yeah, so there can be, with poetry, you can have a range of responses as long as you're paying close attention to the text and you're not, responding to something that's just not there. You can have a range of responses to a poem like this. Cool, shall we move on?
Yes.
Because we're already at 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, let's look at Mommy Works. Well, let's just do number 4 then.
Okay.
What are the differences between the older and the younger generation? And Mommy Works, which is from Poet X, Mommy works hard, right? She's up early, she's working constantly. Like when she's on the bus, she's even still doing stuff, right? Yeah. Maybe it's not work, but she's reading her Bible verses. She never really just stops. She seems to be going all the time. And then Ziamara tells us at the bottom, like, if it were me, I'd prop my head against the metal train wall, hold my purse tight in my lap, close my eyes against the rocking, and try my best to dream. So I think that's a difference. I think that's a difference between the younger generation and the older generation. I think that that the older generation seems to be almost harder working, or nonstop, or has that sense of responsibility. Maybe it's the responsibility that they're feeling, because all of these ladies seem to have felt some responsibility for what they were doing, where the younger generation is just kind of like, I'm gonna rest now.
Well, I also think that they're resting in different ways because different things bring them comfort.
Oh,
Yeah. So Mami, for instance, she's reading her Bible for comfort. Yeah, Xiomara is dreaming, so she's thinking about her future and what could potentially come her way.
I like that. So they're both resting a bit, just in their own ways, and they're finding those different things. Sort of like, for me, reading a book would be relaxing, but for you guys, probably listening to your music is more relaxing.
Or maybe going on Snapchat.
Or
right?
yes, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever it is, right? Well, hopefully this helped, and you guys are able to fine tune questions 1 through 5. Your assignment is to do questions 6, 7, and 8. And then submit this document.
All right.
Sound good?
Thank you
All
for
right.
your time.
Bye, guys.
Here we go. Is this button?